This is the first little video that I'll do as a tutorial. This one is just on our very basic hand sewing principles. So I'm going to cover how much thread to use, how to thread the needle and tie the knot again, and how to do both our snot knot and our slip knot. So if you're still a little bit unsure of those things, this is a video for you to start with. If you feel like I've got those, you don't have to watch this video, that's fine. So because we're doing this with some embroidery floss, I've got a thicker thread at the moment, so it's embroidery thread, which means I do need to have a thicker needle. So you still want a needle that has a nice sharp point, but you want to make sure you've got a needle that does have quite a big eye. So that little hole in there, that's called the eye of the needle. So you do want to make sure that you've got that. Otherwise, if you try to use a really tiny one, like this one, you're not going to be able to get that thread through. And it'll be just really impossible for you. So it might not seem like practicing good hygiene, especially in the current climate, but it is helpful to just moisten the end of your embroidery thread a little bit. If you find you don't have a needle with a big enough eye, and it's really difficult to get this embroidery, because the embroidery thread does have several, it's got like 3 strands through it depending on which thread it is. So you might find it keeps coming apart on you a little bit. One technique is to actually sticky tape the end and cut that little bit of sticky tape into a bit of a point shape, and then put that point through, continue threading it, and then cut off the sticky tape bit. So in terms of how much thread you only want about the length of your arm. So you really only want that much thread, an approximate length of your arm. If you have more than that, it's going to do a few different things. It can tangle on you a lot more easily, which is really frustrating for you. If you happen to be sewing close to other people, which we could be doing in class sometimes, it means that you're sort of having to go like this really far to actually keep pulling it through. And that's dangerous with other people around you. So we want to have, there is times when you would actually have both the same level, but at the moment we just want to have one longer than the other, because we're only going to be sewing with one string of thread. I'm going to tie my snot knot. So if you've forgotten how to do the snot knot, it's a bit hard to really see the whole thing because I do need to cover it with my hands a lot. I can actually take my finger off. I don't need my finger right now. So again, it does help to moisten your finger. If you'd like to do that with hand cream or something to be more hygienic, you can do that. Okay, so I've wrapped my thread about 2.5 times around my finger, and then I'm going to be rolling it off my finger like this. So really just rolling it off my finger, and see how it's starting to curve around on itself and twist around. Now if I pull this all the way down to the end, trying to do it so you can see it, it's going to push all of those little twists into a knot. And I have a big, chunky, ugly knot, and we call this a snot knot. There are, having to sort of do it in this technique isn't the best way. I'm just really doing that just so you guys can see. I mean, when I'm doing it by myself, I'm very much covering it all with my fingers to keep the tension on that thread. So once I have the snot knot in the longer end of my thread, I want to put my thread into the fabric so that it's going to have the snot knot in the back, so in the wrong side of my fabric. So if you've got your embroidery hoop set up, if you were away on the lesson where our last lesson, you can communicate a time with me if you want to come and pick up an embroidery hoop and some fabric and some embroidery thread and some things like that. Some of you might have it at home anyway. You don't have to use an embroidery hoop. Just for some of the things we're doing, it might be a bit easier. So we're going to do just basically starting off any stitch. We want our knot to be on the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm going to pull my needle through my thread, and that snot knot is really catching it and holding it. So we're going to learn a few basic stitches. So our most basic stitch is our running stitch. I might actually save that for the next video though. I will just do tying the slip knot off at the end though. So I'll show you doing a couple of stitches first. So I'm going to do a few really, really big. I can't hand sew without a thimble, sorry. I'm going to do a few really, really big stitches. You wouldn't normally use any this big, just to demonstrate. So there's a basic running stitch that's started like that. If I wanted to finish this off, I would put my needle to the back or the wrong side of the fabric, because I want to keep all of my ugly, messy bits on the wrong side of the fabric. I'm then going to do a slip knot. So the slip knot, come in nice and close so you can see. My slip knot, I'm going to catch just a few, depending on how thick your thread is. If I had really thin thread, I could really just catch two, even sometimes just one thread of the fabric. Because I've got thicker thread, it's probably better to catch about 3 to 4 threads of that fabric. So I've caught a tiny bit of that fabric. I start to pull it through as though I was doing a stitch. And then if I haven't quite pulled it through all the way yet, it's leaving a bit of a loop, and I'm going to insert my needle through that loop and then pull it. And now I've got a slip knot. I'd normally do 2 slip knots just to secure it really well. So again, right next to the last one, pick up a tiny bit of the fabric, start to pull it through. It's leaving a little loop there. I put my needle through the loop. It actually doesn't matter which direction you put your needle through the loop, because that loop might have been twisted a bit anyway. And then just pull it taut. And then you can cut your excess thread off right down. Make sure you can see. You can cut it right next to your knot. You don't need to leave too much trailing off. So that's your basic threading your needle, tying your knot. We'll leave that one there, and I'll do a separate video for the stitches that you're going to have a practice with.